Things on Fraser's Ridge are getting interesting in Outlander Season 8, Episode 2. The second episode of the last season of the romantic series, Prophesize, continues Jamie and Claire's journey back to North Carolina. Many immigrants have settled on the Fraser farm in the years after they departed, and while the most of them have been friendly, there is still a lingering concern that something horrible might occur. After all, Jamie and Claire's lives in Outlander are always complicated. In Outlander Season 8, Episode 2, the Frasers encounter their first tragedy since returning, confirming this. A bear strikes and kills her when she is picking blueberries with Brianna, Izzy, Rachel, and Amy McCallum, previously Amy Lindsay. This terrible moment is made even more painful by her husband's and her son's sadness. However, this incident leads to the revelation of additional facts regarding Captain Cunningham. When questioned, he acknowledges that he is fearless after bravely exacting retribution on the bear. Jamie battles all of this in the Outlander Season 8 premiere as he comes to terms with the shocking reality he discovered in Frank Randall's book. Claire's ex-husband claims that James Fraser was among those slain during the Battle of Kings Mountain. Claire chooses to ignore the warning of the future. Meanwhile, young William Ransom begins investigating the death of his cousin Benjamin Gray. William doesn't enjoy the whole situation, but he found out that Ben had died from disease while being kept captive at a rebel camp. He goes to the camp to gather Ben's belongings in an effort to unearth more answers. This sets up the emotional ending of Outlander Season 8, Episode 2, in which William desperately excavates Ben's tomb. A knight of the Seven Kingdoms stops inquiring about what honor is in Episode 4, and begins to wonder if the expense is worthwhile. Dunk has so far operated under the straightforward tenet that stating the truth, standing tall, and doing the right thing will all be sufficient. However, Westeros responds to him in Episode 4 with silence, followed by repercussions. It's not a noisy episode. There are no marching armies. There are no dragons yelling in the sky. In Outlander Season 8, Episode 2, things are definitely becoming intriguing on Fraser's Ridge. Prophesize, the second episode of the romantic series last season, carries on Jamie and Claire's experiences as they get used to life back in North Carolina. In the years after they left, a number of immigrants have moved onto the Fraser land, and although most of them have been amiable, there remains a persistent fear that something terrible may happen. The lives of Jamie and Claire in Outlander are consistently complex, after all. This is confirmed in Outlander Season 8, Episode 2, as the Frasers experience their first tragedy since coming back. While picking blueberries with Brianna, Izzy, Rachel, and Amy McCallum, formerly Amy Lindsay, a bear attacks and kills her. The grief of her husband and sons makes this awful moment even more heartbreaking. Nevertheless, further information about Captain Cunningham is revealed as a result of this incident. He valiantly exacts revenge on the bear and, when questioned, admits that he is fearless. In the Outlander Season 8 premiere, Jamie struggles with all of this while processing the startling truth he learned from Frank Randall's book. James Fraser was one of the people killed in the Battle of Kings Mountain, according to Claire's ex-husband. Claire decides to disregard the future's warning, but Jamie becomes increasingly alarmed when people with the exact same names that Frank promised to fight beside him show up on his land. In the meantime, young William Ransom starts looking into his cousin Benjamin Gray's death. William learned that Ben had passed away from illness while being held captive at a rebel camp, but he doesn't like the whole situation. In an attempt to find additional answers, he goes to the camp to retrieve Ben's possessions. This leads us to the dramatic conclusion of Outlander Season 8, Episode 2, as William digs up Ben's grave out of desperation. In Outlander Season 8, William finds nothing about Benjamin's passing to be satisfactory. A young soldier at the camp tells him that when he last saw Ben, he seemed to be recovering, but upon his return from camp, he discovered the prisoner had passed away. When William examined Ben's personal possessions, his suspicions increased. Ben's older cousin had promised to always carry the small tin soldier that William had given him, but it wasn't in his uniform pocket. A knight of the Seven Kingdoms stops inquiring about what honor is in Episode 4 and begins to wonder if the expense is worthwhile. Dunk has so far operated under the straightforward tenet that stating the truth, standing tall, and doing the right thing will all be sufficient. However, Westeros responds to him in Episode 4 with silence, followed by repercussions. It's not a noisy episode. There are no marching armies. There are no dragons yelling in the sky. Certain aspects of Cunningham's account are contested by him. He talks to Roger about how worried he is about the situation because a man who believes he cannot die carries significantly greater risks. Cunningham's valiant pursuit of the bear is among the best illustrations of how such a mindset could inspire. Jamie may not give a damn if Cunningham puts himself in danger, but he is aware that his negligence could put others in danger. Jaime is also still unsure of how much he believes in Cunningham. If the man turns out to be an enemy due to his belief in the prophecy that he wouldn't die for a few more years, it could make things more difficult. In Outlander Season 8, Episode 2, it is evident that Jaime is still thinking a lot about Frank's book. Claire can't help but wonder why Frank conducted the study and authored the book, even if she is positive that the death that is predicted in it won't happen. He had promised her that she would stop searching for Jaime, but it seemed that he had spent 20 years searching for the answers he had kept her from obtaining. When Claire expresses her confusion over the scenario, Jaime suggests that Frank hadn't really been looking for Jaime at all. Instead, the man had looked through historical records to find proof of Claire's history. If Frank found proof of Claire's existence in the decades after Culloden, it would effectively be a prophecy that she would eventually leave him and travel back in time. Jaime feels that Frank has found exactly what he was looking for and that the book's prophecy of Jaime's demise is a kind of revenge. Jaime may have written Frank's book off as envy. After all, the chapters don't mention any of Jaime's men, whom he can't imagine fighting without. But when Benjamin Cleveland shows up at Fraser's Ridge, Jaime has reason to be concerned. Cleveland, a local landowner, tells Jaime that he and others in North Carolina are planning to organize a militia, and he hopes Jaime will join. A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms stops inquiring about what honor is in Episode 4 and begins to wonder if the expense is worthwhile. Dunk has so far operated under the straightforward tenet that stating the truth, standing tall, and doing the right thing will all be sufficient. However, Westeros responds to him in Episode 4 with silence, followed by repercussions. It's not a noisy episode. There are no marching armies. There are no dragons yelling in the sky. We can see that Jaime is still thinking a lot about Frank's book. During Outlander Season 8, Episode 2, Claire is certain that the death predicted in the book won't occur, but she can't help but wonder why Frank did the research and wrote the book. He had assured her that she would cease looking for Jaime, but it appeared that he had been looking for the answers he had prevented her from getting for 20 years. Jaime implies that Frank hadn't actually been searching for Jaime at all when Claire expresses her perplexity over the situation. Rather, the man had searched through old documents seeking evidence of Claire's past. It would effectively be a prophecy that Claire would eventually abandon him and go back in time if Frank discovered evidence of her existence in the decades following Culloden. Jaime believes that the book predicting Jaime's death is a form of retaliation and that Frank has discovered exactly what he was searching for. Jaime might have dismissed Frank's book as nothing more than jealousy. After all, none of Jaime's men, whom he finds impossible to conceive fighting without, are mentioned in the pages. But Jaime has cause for concern when a man named Benjamin Cleveland appears at Fraser's Ridge. A nearby landowner named Cleveland informs Jaime that he and other people in North Carolina are organizing a militia, and he hopes Jaime will join. One of the men Frank mentions in his book as fighting beside Jaime during the Battle of King's Mountain against the Redcoats is Cleveland. Cleveland specifically names John Sevier, Isaac Shelby, and William Campbell as other landowners. Throughout Outlander, young Ian has had a difficult journey, but in Season 8, Episode 2, he finally experiences the kind of happiness he has long yearned for. Earlier in Outlander, Ian and his first wife, Emily, lost a small daughter. Despite their best efforts, they were unable to conceive. Emily was allowed by Mohawk custom to divorce Ian and choose a new husband, which she did. Only years after Ian's departure from the Mohawk did he find out that Emily had given birth to a son. Little Swiftest of Lizards is unquestionably Ian's son, but he was never given the opportunity to raise him. A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms stops inquiring about what honor is in Episode 4, and begins to wonder if the expense is worthwhile. Dunk has so far operated under the straightforward tenet that stating the truth, standing tall, and doing the right thing will all be sufficient. However, Westeros responds to him in Episode 4 with silence, followed by repercussions. It's not a noisy episode. There are no marching armies. There are no dragons yelling in the sky.